Hello, my name is Mr. Perea, and this is my 10th year teaching PE here at STEAM Academy. And I wanted to just intro a little bit on how we're applying some of the UDL principles through PE. So the first thing that I started with when I was looking at this lesson is student variability. And in PE, like in most classes, it's a big range. We have our kids who are exposed to club sports, who have experience playing team sports. Then we have those kids who have a little bit of experience, playing at the park in one or two sports. And then we have those kids with absolutely no experience, right? But maybe they're active, they're go-getters. Then we have the kids who are, way down. They don't move very much. They don't have too much sports experience. PE is probably their only organized outlet. So I started with variability, and my goal here really is to increase engagement. So the standard that we're looking at right off the bat is standard 8.1.4. So apply locomotor, non-locomotor, and manipulative skills to team physical activities. And so for each unit, we're starting with basketball here. Students will demonstrate the knowledge of basketball skills, ball control, dribbling, passing, and shooting through participation in a basketball game or through skills camp practice. So generally when we're looking at a unit, for me and I know most PE teachers, we start off with skill development, passing, shooting, dribbling, the basic principles, maybe a teaching game, some drills, and then we go into the team games. And so this lesson specifically is for when we're in team games. Basically what I've noticed over the years is engagement, right? I have those kids who once we're outside, once we're in the game environment, they tend to shy away. So maybe when we were doing the skill development, they might have fit in with what everybody else was doing. Maybe they can move with the ball, but once the pressure of the game came into play, either they were over to themselves, they showed low confidence, they asked to go to the restroom a million times, a lot of general task avoidant behaviors. So the principle of UDL that's a focus for this lesson is engagement. And this is basically looking back on students who I've had, and as PE teachers, it's really difficult because, I'm going to say we got a large number. I know you probably hear that all the time, but it's sometimes just a whirlwind of, kids that we have out on the field, and then it's easy for us to say that kid was just being lazy, right? Or they didn't want to do anything, or they're making excuses. But what we're doing here is breaking down what do each of those things mean. Yes?
Where do I put that?
Just leave it right there. Okay, and what I developed here to start is the criteria for selection. So what I'm doing on the first day, and I can do this maybe earlier on, but I started with it mostly in games, because when we're doing the drills, like I said, everybody seems to have a little bit of success. A lot of the drills offer a little more room for offering, advanced and medium and beginner options. But when you get to the game style lessons, that's when it becomes a little more stark as to who is able to participate and who isn't. So my criteria here is basically I would list the student. I have this as my master sheet, and this is something I've already used. I changed the names for confidentiality, for anonymity, and I just went in, and as I was watching the student, I tried to figure out which of these things was it that they were demonstrating. Is it that they were showing low confidence? Is it that they were avoiding the ball? Is it that they were uncomfortable handling equipment? And then it really helped when I presented this to them the next day, and I said, hey, when I was watching the game, I noticed that, D and H. I noticed that you had difficulty participating safely, and then I also noticed that maybe you would benefit from a little more skill practice, right? And usually then the students are kind of like, oh, Mr. Perea is paying attention. He sees, he gets it, right? They know kind of where they're at. So then what I did from there is I developed a practice form, and this is something that can be tailored to any unit you're in, but obviously this is an example for basketball here. So I set up just a couple of practice drills, right-handed dribbling, left-handed dribbling, and ideally this is something that we had just recently covered, And so hopefully the language is not new to them and it's something that they can follow along with. We can give them different sets, different reps, and then I can, hopefully keep them engaged so that way they are continuing to develop some of those skills, but in a lower stakes environment. So that's basically the principles of what we're doing here for PE. And I presented this recently at our PE teacher cohort, and most people seem to agree that maybe it's something that we can work and implement. So thanks for listening, and I'd be happy to share anything I have with anybody that would like to hear.